one day out in the scorch.
I mean, can you really blame Thomas from running away? I mean, are you really going to believe Littlefinger from Game of Thrones that tells you that stuff? Honestly, I would do that too. But welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. We have a packed show this week because it's the time of the year where the studios are realizing, oh, the doldrums are over. We can start putting the stuff out we believe in. It's September 18th, 2015. We got a lot of movies to get to here, so let's jump on into it. Let's start off with the biggest of the new releases, Maze Runner: The Scorch Trials, which is, of course, the sequel to the original Maze Runner, which was one of the big surprise hits of the year before, and a surprisingly really good young adult adaptation of a book series that I'm not really keen on, but nevertheless still made for a really damn good movie. And the plot of The Scorch Trials takes place immediately following the last movie, as Thomas, once again played by Dylan O'Brien, and his fellow Gladders have just escaped from the facilities of the powerful World Catastrophe Kill Zone Department, the WCKD, which has imprisoned them. On the run in the desert and ruined cities, they must escape the soldiers facing the perils of the Scorch. And you have new people coming into the cast, including Giancarlo Esposito, the aforementioned Aidan Gillen, Barry Pepper, and Lily Taylor. And you know, the first one was one of those big surprises that really kind of came out of nowhere. And man, talk about a disappointing follow-up to a really strong surprise of a first movie. But then again, that's what kind of happens when you rush a film out this quickly, 1 year after it came out. I mean, yeah, I know. We're following the Harry Potter, the Twilight, the Divergent, Hunger Games format where, you know, it's a success the first year, so we got to get it out quickly so the zeitgeist will still be there. But at the same time, you got a lot of the same people involved in this one here. You got a really good movie that came off of the first film, a strong cast of characters you really liked, that eventually you wanted to get behind, and man, they just disappointed on so many levels with this. I was shocked at how bad this movie was. And I say bad as it's a terrible movie. It's not, but coming off of the first movie, you expected something as enjoyable, or to step it up a little bit because they've given you more money to do whatever you want with this, and it doesn't really do that overall. There's not really much of a story going on here, except that it's the same thing as the events of the first movie. You got these kids running away from the bad guys, but on top of that, there's nothing. Nobody's really is evolving as the film goes along. It just kind of stays kind of where they were at in the first movie in general. It's almost kind of like a typical cash grab sequel where there's no sense of actually writing a story that involves the characters. We want to regress them down a little bit so they can go back to where they were in the first movie, which will make the first movie completely pointless. I mean, especially with a film that turned out to be as successful as the first film was and unexpectedly good, you expect so much better with the sequel, and the fact that they didn't really do a whole lot with it, it really was a major letdown. And when I was just kind of like, man, this was a wasted opportunity that really felt like they were on their way to something great, and then they just couldn't get back on track with it overall. They would get it back a little bit with the last movie, The Death Cure, but don't get me wrong, this isn't a bad movie, but if you're looking for something that's going to up the level from the first movie, you're not going to get that here in this film, unfortunately. And the film falters because they don't expand the characters, they don't really give you a reason to come back to this after the first film, and they just give you kind of a film that feels empty when it's all said and done. Like, you never really feel like there's anything good coming from this, and it's a letdown. It's a major, major letdown, and I was extremely disappointed by it. I wanted so much more from it, and it just wasn't there with this film, so unfortunately, a mixed opinion on the Maze Runner Scorch Trials, especially with how good the first film was. What a shame. What a shame that it didn't turn out to be that great. But with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, Johnny Depp, hoping to capture some Oscar gold here and make us forget the horrors of Mordecai, which kind of does, but kind of doesn't. This is Black Mass.
Because nobody sees it. Didn't happen.
If I did beat up my wife and no one was around to see it, did it happen? Probably yes, but yeah, that's the only reason I brought the glasses out, so I can do that. But this is Black Mass. This is Johnny Depp starring as the famous gangster James Whitey Bulger, and this is a story about him and John Connolly, played by Joel Edgerton, who grew up together on the streets of South Boston. Decades later, in the late 1970s, they would meet again. By then, Connolly was a major figure in the FBI's Boston office, and Whitey had become the godfather of the Irish mob. What happened between them, a dirty deal to trade secrets and to take down Boston's Italian mafia in the process, would spiral out of control, leading to murders, drug dealing, racketeering indictments, and ultimately to Bulger making the FBI's 10 most wanted list. And you can definitely tell this was Warner Brothers' big Oscar prestige picture. This is the one that they were hoping was going to be another Departed success. And we'll touch on that in just a second here. But when it comes to modern-day gangster movies, it makes sense. You go to Warner Brothers because they did make some of the best ones. I mean, you know, you've got a studio where they put out box sets at the time where you had a set of gangster movie collections, not just the classic ones like, you know, Mean Streets, The Untouchables, which at the time when I saw this movie and did this review that I'm talking about here, Paramount did put out their movies through Warner Brothers on DVD, so basically Paramount kind of had Warner Brothers before the inevitable Paramount WB merger that may happen. That's probably going to happen, even though we don't want it to. But, you know, you had Mean Streets, The Untouchables, Heat, Goodfellas, The Departed, Once Upon a Time in America, and The Town. Like, it really didn't seem like Warner Brothers could miss with gangster movies. And so here you have another one here, but it's definitely one of their weaker ones overall. This is not quite Gangster Squad kind of bad, which, I mean, Gangster Squad wasn't really a bad movie per se. It's just, I mean, I'll start with my negative comments on it here. And, you know, I think the film's pacing is way too slow. And you think you're doing this to build up to the epic intention. We're going to get to another movie in just a second here that did it much better and came out the same weekend I saw this movie. And most of the time it usually falls flat and leads to nothing. And this isn't the first time a movie directed by Scott Cooper had that problem. This is the same guy that did Out of the Furnace, which was okay, but had the exact same problem. The pacing was really slow, and it never really built up to anything. Another problem I had with the movie was that there were so many characters and subplots that are very unnecessary. There's a lot of really good people involved in this movie. You see it in the trailer where you have a cast that also includes Benedict Cumberbatch, Kevin Bacon, Jesse Plemons, Dakota Johnson, Peter Skarsgård, Corey Stoll, like all these really good actors in here. And I mean, there's just way too much going on in the story department, and there's really no need for all these characters to be involved in this. Instead of just putting the focus on the two main characters here of, you know, Joel Edgerton's John Connolly and Johnny Depp's Whitey Bulger. I mean, but my biggest problem with the movie overall is that it's one of those movies where it's trying desperately to become the next gangster movie classic, and it's not even trying to hide it. There are scenes in this movie where you can tell they are trying their hardest to make this the next Goodfellas, or The Departed, or American Gangster. They want this to be the generational gangster movie for this decade, which, I mean, American Gangster pretty much was that movie already, and if you want to even go to the 2010s, The Town came out in 2010, so that counts. But instead of just letting the movie be its own movie and letting the story sell itself, it just tries to copy what had been done in the past. But despite my complaints about it, there is stuff I did like about it. I like the story of Whitey Bulger. I think it is a mesmerizing story to talk about, and to see it come to life the way it is when the film focuses more on that element and away from the consistent subplots and the other characters involved with it, it works. The best aspect of the movie is Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp desperately needed this to be good because, man, at the start of the year, Mordecai was the bottom of the barrel for him, but this is a movie that proves that this guy is still a really good actor. I mean, he can still play really good performances in this type of a film, and he returns to form in here, and he probably should have gotten an Oscar nomination for this, which I'm kind of shocked he didn't. I mean, that's the one thing I'll give the movie credit for, is that his performance in this definitely deserved an Oscar nomination. I mean, this is the Johnny Depp of Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. He's back in full form in this movie. He channels Whitey so well in this, it's frightening. And again, it was shocking he did not get an Oscar nomination for this. I mean, and not just him, Joel Edgerton. We talked about it with The Gift earlier this week, and he's really good. Like, he's a promising actor, and we've seen it in the years with The Great Gatsby, Warriors, Zero Dark 30. I mean, he's great in this movie. He is one of our best actors working, and this is one of those performances that really shows that he should have gotten a lot more than he got in terms of great performances overall. When the cast overall is really good, even though I did complain about the overabundance of the supporting characters, the actors in here are really good. A lot of good talent involved in this. You know, it's one of those movies that comes out every year, like An American Hustle or The Imitation Game, where the performances are what carry the movie, but they're also trying so hard for that golden statue, that lovely, lovely Oscar. Like, one of these beauties right here. Like, I get it. Everyone wants these. Hell, I would love to win a real one of these one day, but this is probably the closest I will ever get to having one. But here's the thing, and this is what I think the Academy Awards has done a good job of over the last couple of years. you have to actually put effort into it. You have to try and do something that hasn't been done before. Like this past Oscar show, a lot of people were wondering, well, why did Michael B. Jordan win one of these for Sinners, even though Timothée Chalamet was supposed to be the frontrunner for Marty Supreme? Michael B. Jordan acted his ass off in that movie, and they didn't just give him the award because Timothée Chalamet said something bad about ballerinas and all that. No, he got it because he was good in that movie, and he actually put effort into it. He wasn't just playing Michael B. Jordan. A movie like this has the good performance by Johnny Depp, but the rest of the movie itself is begging so hard for this, when I'm sorry, you can't just be handed this and accept and just be considered that you are a great movie that deserves this, even though you're basically just given the equivalent of a body of work performance by some of the Oscar winners that have come from this. But what does carry the film overall are the performances by Johnny Depp and Joel Edgerton. They are the reason why the film is elevated to another level. The rest of the cast is really good. However, the editing, the pacing, the use of subplots and storylines, trying way too hard to be this generation's gangster classic, that's what hurts him from being one of the year's best movies. I mean, it's a film that is fine, but it's not one that people are going to remember anytime soon. It's a movie that I guarantee you a lot of people don't even talk about this movie anymore because, yeah, it came and went. It wasn't a big hit when it came out. It wasn't a big critical success either. It was just kind of came and went, and there are far better movies that came out this particular weekend that were so much better than this movie was here. We're going to get to one of those ones right now. This was one of the biggest surprises I had all year. This next film we're going to talk about here. Let's talk about Everest.
There's no oxygen. That's the wrong way. I'm not leaving you behind. Come on.
If anyone can make it, you can.
Everest. Experienced in an IMAX 3D rated PG-13.
I loved the hell out of this movie, man. I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed this film, and mostly because of the director. More on that in just a second, but on the morning of May 10th, 1996, you have two climbers, played by Jason Clarke and Josh Brolin, from two expeditions who start their final ascent toward the summit of Mount Everest, the highest point on Earth. With little warning, a violent storm strikes the mountain, engulfing the adventurers in one of the fiercest blizzards ever encountered by man. Challenged by the harshest conditions imaginable, the team must endure blistering winds and freezing temperatures in an epic battle to survive against nearly impossible odds. The cast also includes John Hawkes, Robin Wright, Emily Watson, Keira Knightley, Sam Worthington, and Jake Gyllenhaal among it. And like I said, my skepticism for this movie strictly came from the director of this, Baltasar Koremut, who I really did not like his last two movies. I really didn't like Contraband. I thought that was a generic mess of a film that wasted Mark Wahlberg. And I really didn't like Two Guns, another one that wasted Mark Wahlberg, and not only him, but Denzel Washington. I thought that was one of the worst movies of 2013. It had no idea what it wanted to be. Did it want to be a straight-up action comedy, a serious thriller? There was too many villains that you couldn't figure out who the main threat was. I mean, it was a mess all across the board. And I'd rather watch Contraband again than Two Guns. Contraband's just kind of generic, but Two Guns was a disaster on so many levels. So I went into this with not a whole lot of expectations, strictly from the director alone. But man, I came out of this movie enthralled by it. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. But then again, it's because I'm a sucker for these type of mountain action movies. I praised films like Cliffhanger and Alive and Vertical Limit, and this is definitely a movie that deserves to be in those caliber of mountain action movies. It probably is the best one of these mountain action films. The best aspect of the movie is the visual look of the film. This is one of the most spectacular looking movies I saw that entire year. The scale is epic, the imagery is gorgeous to look at. You feel like you're actually on Everest with these characters on a huge, large format screen in Cinemark XD, which I saw this in. It felt incredible. It's one of those theater going experiences you can only experience every once in a while. Or in this case, with two other movies that are promising the same type of experience, with The Walk and The Martian coming up in a couple weeks' time. But we'll talk about those films because those are also great movies as well. I like the cast overall in this. Like I said, the cast including names like Jason Clarke, Josh Brolin, Jake Gyllenhaal, John Hawkes, Sam Worthington, Michael Kelly, Robin Wright, Emily Watson, Keira Knightley, Elizabeth Debicki. They are all really good. They're giving great performances, and they match the performances in real life that they're playing to a T. The build-up to the storm is great, too. Like, that eventually takes the depths is impressively done. I do think it did take a little bit too long to get to the actual storm, but when the storm actually hits, it ends up being worth it for just how tense and epic it becomes. You do feel terrible for people that end up losing their lives, the family members that lose people that they love, and the film does a good job of developing the characters and making you want them to survive. That's what makes for a great mountain movie. Now, to its credit, there are things about the film that I did not enjoy. I mentioned before that they do take a little bit too long to get to the storm. I think we get there close to 2 hours before till we get to that point. This is almost 2.5 hours long. And it's just kind of like, yeah, it's just like, come on, get to the point already. But I do think that there are several parts of the film that could have been cut out of there. Like, you could have cut out the relationship with Beck and his wife and more in-depth details about his family. The only real thing that we know about Beck in the movie is the fact that with his wife, that he forgets his anniversary was that date, and that he's always busy, and the kids are barely getting any development. They only get a couple of lines, and they fight with each other like most siblings do. But other than that, that's pretty much about it, man. I mean, there's nothing about that character's importance to the storyline that really feels necessary, and it would have been nice to have some development on the characters and maybe a tighter script so we can get to the good stuff when we want to. But other than that, there's just little nitpicky things here and there, and they are little nitpicky things. I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I think it is one of the best films of the year. The characters are great, the story is great, the action and tension is pitch perfect. It's one of the most incredible looking movies I saw in 2015, and it's a movie that it's worth seeing on an IMAX screen, or if you got a big television at home, watch this movie, because this movie is absolutely amazing to look at on a 4K HD television, and it's impressive stuff. It's impressive stuff. If this movie ever gets released in theaters again on an IMAX screen, I'll be there opening weekend, because I want to see this again on a big screen. It's just chef's kiss, top-notch stuff, and it won't be the last time we'll experience a film like this year. We've still got 2 other films that will do that, but we'll get to those eventually. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is, what is it? It's a Captive.
Stop, read it to me.
God expects you to make the most of what you have been given.
I haven't been given anything.
You have a son.
Stand down! Could you forgive me?
I don't know, but maybe God can.
Captive.
We've touched on a little bit more Christian faith-based movies in the last couple of years since we've been doing this show. You know, we've touched on, Miracles from Heaven. We covered a couple of them not too long ago with War Room and 90 Minutes in Heaven. This feels like it's trying to be that, but then again, it feels like a movie that the studio basically saw how successful War Room was and said, make this our War Room, even though this has literally nothing to do with that whatsoever. But this is Captive. This is a story about Brian Nichols, played by David Oyelowo from Selma, who escapes from the Fulton County Courthouse in Atlanta during his trial involving a rape case, including in the process of escaping, he murders the judge presiding over his trial, Roland Barnes, as well as a court reporter, Julie Brandau. He also shoots a sergeant while escaping the courthouse and later kills an ICE special agent, and he becomes the subject of a citywide manhunt, and his frantic escape brings him to the apartment of a woman played by Kate Mara, a single mother and recovering methamphetamine addict who's held hostage. Smith gets through the time by inspired by the book The Purpose-Driven Life, while Nicholas searches for redemption. As she reads aloud, Smith and her would-be killer come to a crossroads, and Nicholas eventually turns himself to the police. Sorry for spoiling the movie for you, but that's literally, at this point, this is a type of film where it's just kind of like, you can't blame me for spoiling a movie like this, even though I had no idea what it was, because the trailer looks so bad. This movie looks so... Please please pretend that we're a faith-based movie so we can have the same success that War Room did. Literally. That's literally what the trailer really feels like, and it's just kind of like, come on, man. This is pathetic. This movie is so lazy, and it's not because of the actors. David Oyelowo and Kate Mara are doing the best they can with the material given to them, as is Michael K. Williams, as is Lenora Valera, Mimi Rogers, everybody involved in here. This is a lousy film. A lazy film and a lousy film. It's so pathetic in trying to get an emotional, manipulative emotional moment out of you. Let's try that. One of the critical reviews for this kind of summed it up best. It's a Lifetime movie shoved into a cage and fattened with sermons and platitudes until it's ready to be served cold and bland. That's this movie in a nutshell. This is a movie that should not be put into a theater. It should be a Lifetime movie of the week, but because they have people who might be stars or maybe not, they're not big draws. People have seen Kate Mara before, but maybe they thought Fantastic Four was going to be the big hit of the summer. Maybe that's why they put her in there. And David Oyelowo was just in Selma the Christmas before, but they're not big box office draws, unfortunately. And for a film like this, it really needs to have the box office draw of some big stars to push it to another echelon. But even then, we had The Perfect Guy, not too long ago, and, you know, maybe that same company probably could have made this a success overall because of the way they marketed that film if you put some of the stars from that movie in this film. But other than that, though, there's nothing about this movie that makes it worth it in the end. You don't really get invested in both of these characters. I mean, the main character you're supposed to feel sorry for is the guy who literally killed 4 people while he was in court. Like, it's just kind of like it makes no sense. Like, nothing about this film makes no sense whatsoever. And I think I start to see why the problem is, because I'm reading right here. How long ago do you think this film was shot? 2 years ago. October 2013 in North Carolina. Coming out on September 18th, 2015. I don't think I need to tell you how much more this film probably is. This film is not worth it. I'll say that. But, yeah, Captive. This feels like a movie that your kidnappee would force you to watch if you had somebody held hostage. But I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. So let's go ahead and get back to some good movies. How about that? Let's talk about another one of the year's best movies from director Denis Villeneuve. This is Sicario.
Welcome to Juarez. Sicario, rated R, everywhere October 2nd.
I love the hell out of Sicario, and I think a lot of people do as well, but this is the movie that essentially opened the door for Taylor Sheridan to begin his empire, at least in the world of television. But this is the first film he wrote and the first part of his American Frontier trilogy, but we'll get to that eventually down the road with Hell on High Water and Wind River. But this follows a principled FBI special agent who is enlisted by a government task force to bring down the leader of a powerful and brutal Mexican drug cartel. The leader of that cartel being played by Benicio del Toro, and the agent's played by Emily Blunt. Also, Josh Brolin's in here, Daniel Kaluuya, Victor Garber, John Barenthal, Jeffrey Donovan, Maximiliano Hernandez from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, and this is what Denis Villeneuve does so well, creates an epic experience unlike anything you'd seen before. And of course, this is follow-up film after Prisoners, and just shows what a great director he really was on his way to becoming with this. And yeah, it's a terrific film that works because it's a nicely put together thriller where you are following all these characters around and you feel sympathy for every one of them, even the bad guys. Like Benicio del Toro is fantastic in this movie. Emily Blunt is great as well. Josh Brolin is really good here. The way the film looks is impressively handled. It's a really epic film and an intense film that works on so many levels, and it works because of the writing of Taylor Sheridan. I mean, this is the stuff that this is for his first feature film coming out of the gate here. His first thing he ever wrote. I mean, this is some pretty damn good stuff overall, and shows the true potential of his future as a filmmaker, and not just filmmaker, but an entertainer too, with all the stuff he did with Yellowstone and all the stuff he does for Paramount Plus. I mean, this is a absolutely terrific film that just works on so many levels. What more can I say, man? It's one of the best movies released that year. Led to a great sequel in Day of the Soldado, and good movie. Really, really good film. More than that, a great film. Sicario, man. Sicario. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie of the week, and that is Cooties.
Ugly. You look like you got chicken pox. If chicken pox is made out of hemorrhoids, you listening to me? What, are you sick or something?
Oh, look! Carnage!
I do love how the fall of 2015 was apparently the year for these big, sweeping, epic movies like Everest and The Walk and The Martian, but it was also the time for insane horror comedies like this film we're going to talk about here, and then later on we'll have The Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. And I mean, this movie is awesome, man. This is a great, great film. It's a horror comedy about a group of elementary school employees who fight to survive an outbreak among students that turns them into aggressive zombies when somebody eats chicken butt nuggets that contain a virus. And yeah, it's a movie where they go gonzo nuts. You see these kids eating the crap out of each other and then going after the adults and all that. And I love it, man. I love movies like this that just go gonzo nuts and just says, fuck the laws of physics, fuck common sense. We're going to go ahead and go crazy with it. And you've got the script written by Ian Brennan, the co-creator of Glee, and Leigh Whannell, who, of course, has gone on to become a prolific filmmaker with The Invisible Man, and also the Wolfman remake, which the Wolfman remake wasn't great, but the Invisible Man was really good. And a cast that also includes Elijah Wood, Alison Pill, Rainn Wilson, Jack McBrayer, Nassim Pedrad, Jorge Garcia. I mean, this is a fun movie. Does it go for everything that it should have gone for in terms of the Gonzo levels that it should have gone to? Probably not. It feels like there are times when it does feel like there's a little bit of a tone down towards the middle of the movie, but it's a fun film overall. It's a movie that is trying to be kind of the equivalent to Zombieland or Shaun of the Dead. And while it doesn't quite necessarily reach those levels, you have to give credit where credit is due for them for just going for it and just having a good time with this. And it works. I think it's a solidly entertaining movie. It's funny. It's well done most of the time. It's good. It's a really good movie. It could have been great, but for the time that they had to work with it, for the fact that it is a breezy 90 minutes, you have fun with this movie, knowing going into it what kind of a film it's going to be, and they deliver on everything you can ask for and then some. Could you ask for more? Absolutely. But as it is, I enjoy it. I enjoy the hell out of it. It's a silly movie, a fun gonzo film. Cooties, man. Absolutely incredible. I enjoy it. I enjoy the hell out of it. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies, and we're going to wrap September up on the next episode with 3 more films, including the sequel to the runaway hit Hotel Transylvania 2. We also have Nancy Meyers' latest film, starring Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro, The Intern. And Eli Roth is back with his latest film, The Green Inferno. So that's the films that wrap up September. We'll take a look at them tomorrow on this channel, so stay tuned for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.